What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, off the Mike Sports Network. Did not go live tonight. Thought about doing it, but this is your Monday Night Raw review, the Raw after SummerSlam, where we had a conclusion on Saturday that was very much talked about, and obviously the big story on Sunday, and has dominated the wrestling headlines with Brock Lesnar returning to WWE. That was not followed up upon on this show. It feels like it's going to happen on SmackDown from Montreal on Friday because John Cena is billed as being in the building and he's going to be at Clash in Paris. So it seems like John Cena is probably gonna whether this match happens in Paris or it happens in Perth, it's happening between him and Brock Lesnar at some point. But want to talk about Raw because I get criticized a lot in this community as a guy who glazes WWE and, will praise them at every turn. What I saw on Monday Night Raw following SummerSlam, by the standards of a show to follow up a major PLE like SummerSlam was, with a couple of great main events and very much talked about conclusions to each night. I was very critical of it because, a lot of the stuff in between was fine, and some of it was actually pretty bad. To follow up with this show, to me, is inexcusable. This was not a good show tonight. This was not a good show on Monday because really the big hook of this entire show was Seth Rollins and his new group. We didn't really get a substantive, explanation about the plan, like of what happened. And, it was really like it was a long methodical promo. But what I liked and what made it sort of passable, LA Knight came out and we ended up getting a World Heavyweight Championship match on the Raw after SummerSlam, which to me is a big deal. Anytime you get a World Championship match on free television, well, not necessarily free television anymore, but on television, as opposed, like, because it's Netflix now. But anytime you can get the World Championship on your television show weekly as opposed to a premium live event, that's a big fucking deal. It's a big fucking deal. You don't see it very often in WWE. It happens more often with the World Heavyweight title as opposed to the undisputed WWE Championship, which is actually free television with SmackDown on USA. The match itself was fine. LA Knight and Seth Rollins worked hard, but we got a predictable finish. CM Punk comes in for the DQ. He actually saved LA Knight. The two baby faces get beat down. And then Roman Reigns comes out. He gets his shoes jacked a second time. He gets speared. He gets 3 tsunamis. There was post-show stuff filmed after the fact where LA Knight, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns were all yelling at each other. The reports are that Roman Reigns may not actually be getting written off of television because Street Fighter does not start filming until September. So seeing that Cody Rhodes was announced for SmackDown, maybe that's a means for, hey, Cody Rhodes is going to have a match in Paris as well. So we'll see. But in terms of this show, really, that was the most significant development in terms of the main event scene. We had a women's tag team championship match, which was fine. I think it was better than the one at SummerSlam. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss get the win again. Fun action, but nothing really crazy to write home about. Penta got on this show, but he faced Grayson Waller and pretty much killed him. And that was kind of a goofy moment. Dominic Mysterio faced Dragon Lee. That actually was okay, but we've seen the match before. They have great chemistry. And we got a third El Grande Americano. It's just, and Sheamus and Rusev fought to a double count out. It's just, man, maybe it's, I've grown to expect more from this place. And the other thing that I got to mention that I actually kind of liked about the show that I had really low expectations going into, Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch are seemingly going into a feud for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. This is why Becky Lynch won at SummerSlam. That being said, I like Nikki Bella. I like Becky Lynch. I don't like that we had to sacrifice Lyra Valkyria and her push and losing to Becky Lynch and really what was the feud ender for these two and had the rare heel go over the babyface, and then there was really no substantive follow-up from Lyra. It was just, "Hey, Bailey, I gotta get away from you." So, that being said, I enjoyed this segment between Nikki and Becky. They went back and forth with a bunch of real life barbs. The Happy Gilmore digs were pretty funny. And then obviously, the real life dig with, Becky Lynch, obviously saying, "Hey, me and Seth are the best power couple. You guys could have been that, you and John. Oh, wait, you can't see him anymore." And the whole crowd, that was honestly as alive as that crowd had been for most of the night. It was a pretty sleepy crowd in Brooklyn for with about 11, 12,000 people. Everybody, like I said off the top here, everybody seems to think that I glaze WWE while shitting on AEW. Listen, I'm going to call middling products when, they're middling products or when they're terrible. For a show coming out of a major PLE, which really effectively is your summer WrestleMania, and really the most significant thing that you got was something that we expected. Like, and another beatdown where, the heels and, Seth Rollins' new group, just sort of dominate over the baby faces of Raw. There's no new member. There's no hook or no angle to set us up. Clearly what they are setting the stage for and what they are telling you in plain English for anybody who doesn't have a clue, Raw is clearly going to have the War Games match in San Diego at Petco Park in a baseball stadium later this year. It's clearly going to be the babyface side with Roman Reigns. LA Knight's probably going to be involved. CM Punk's going to be involved. And then obviously you got the new group, which was another big point to come out of this, the Vision. And I would expect the Vision to add more members at some point as well. And this is going to be a story that's going to play us into November over the next 3 or so months. But in terms of a follow-up from a big PLE show, this was not a good show. And maybe my expectations have gotten higher for this place, but this product, in terms of where it was the last couple of years, this is not the WWE that I was hoping to see. And maybe I, faulted myself into thinking that this company could, follow up on the 2 big years that they had. Obviously, 2022, 2023, and then 2024 were some good years for WWE, and they had a fire in their ass really to, send a statement. But as more TKO influences come in, and then obviously this Netflix deal went into effect, it has become more, product placement based, more advertisements, more revenue, charging more money. There's more events over the course of the calendar, and that's kind of hurt builds. And then you've had, good matches across premium live events, but then, a lot of stuff that you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then you get this Raw where you open and close with the World Heavyweight Champion. It's the same shit that we've seen. I like Seth Rollins. I'm willing to see this through with this group now that, the big hook has been paid off. He's the world champion. But where is this all going? Where is this all going? Is my question, because LA Knight is probably not winning the World Heavyweight Championship. Sorry for all you people who love LA Knight. It's good to see him at least featured in a high-profile sense on television. That means something, and now he's effectively a Raw superstar. Cool. He should be, because he's one of the most popular guys there. There was no Jey Uso on the show, which I found very interesting. Roman Reigns, is it him and Seth Rollins? Is CM Punk and Seth Rollins? Are we going to continue to do this? Because this is effectively a lot of the same shit that we did out of WrestleMania. The only difference is Seth Rollins is the World Heavyweight Champion now. So we really haven't done a lot of different things. We had the cool moments that we had at SummerSlam, but how are you paying them off? And my whole issue here is across this show, you had a couple things that, jumped out to me. Let's be honest, unless you're a really big women's wrestling fan, nobody really asked for Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I would have been fine with this as just a standard wrestling match, but when I found out that Nikki Bella was going to be next for Becky Lynch in terms of the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and that's why they had Becky retain, I thought, are you fucking kidding me? I like Nikki Bella. She's a legend. She's a Hall of Famer. Cool. But Lyra Valkyria is the future of this women's division and everything in that feud. And this is what pissed me off about that match. It went way too long. It was way overproduced for everything that those two women had done since WrestleMania, only for Becky to win, Lyra to just move on, like, hey, I can't challenge for it, and basically like, hey, I got to get away from you, Bailey. I got to get out of this vortex, and that's all we got. Um, it's just this was an underwhelming show. The opening of this show was fine. Like, you get LA Knight, he cooked on the microphone. Like I said, it was a fine promo to open it up, and hey, we at least set up to have a World Heavyweight Championship match. Ultimately that sets the stage for really what was the hook of the entire show. Rusev and Sheamus had a great match, but like I said, ended in a double countout, and they effectively did the whole, the whole Peter Griffin chicken fight thing from Family Guy, where they basically were fighting in front of everybody throughout the entire show, which, it's fine. And I get that they want to beat the shit out of each other, but given what these two men had done the entire time, it felt kind of like a lame cop out to really continue the feud. I don't know what the fuck the New Day are doing. They're still mourning, but Grayson Waller is just latching on. Grayson Waller lost to Penta in 8 minutes. Penta, it's great to see Penta, but he hasn't really done anything significant in a while, which is not very good because I like Penta a lot and he deserves to be featured more, but he's kind of seemingly fell out of his way. Charlotte and Alexa, very entertaining. I love those two together. And I think, they had a pretty standard, decent match with Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Fun match. I think it was better than the match that they had at SummerSlam. But, like I said, nothing really jumped out. There wasn't really anything advancing towards the next angle with those two and seeing where this goes. It was just, hey, we're running back what we did at SummerSlam. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley followed up their whole thing. I guess Io is going to get a women's world championship match against Naomi next week on Raw, which is certainly a decision because, hey, it already seems like you're heavily leaning into Naomi and Stephanie Vicaire, or as Naomi called her, Stephanie Velcro, which, please, listen, I love Stephanie Vicaire, and I know a lot of people are going to be rooting for her to win the championship from Naomi. Don't take the title off of Naomi just yet. That woman's a breath of fresh air. What sucked is she got 2 promos on this show. One of them was in the ad break, which why they do those, why they put their top stars in ad breaks. I don't understand if you're not going to show it to the audience or you're just going to make it exclusive and have people pay for more money. So Rhea and Io do their back and forth thing. I thought they were going to get together as a tag team following that tag team match because they were interacting with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Like I said, Lyra Valkyria didn't, like, Bailey was looking for her, and Lyra Valkyria basically says, hey, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear your excuses. I just need to get out of here. We're not friends. We just need to stay out of each other's lives. So again, a really underwhelming follow-up to what happened at the pay-per-view, which I didn't like in the first place. I thought Lyra should have won, and then maybe you could have built a story. Instead, nobody's turning heel. Bailey and Lyra are kind of just out there, and we sacrificed that to get to Nikki Bella, who I like, and it was a compelling segment. But let's be real. Nikki's not beating Becky Lynch. She's not. This is just a fun match to check off your bingo card. And it's like, you didn't need to have the Women's Intercontinental Championship in this to begin with. So to me, that was a miss. Dominic faces Dragon Lee. They faced each other umpteenth amount of times. And then this led to the other big talking point of this. We get a third imposter El Grande Americano. We had Kaiser show up. We had Pete Dunne show up. And then we had a third one show up. Basically, this is, basically they're forming a Starbucks faction, effectively. We have El Venti, El Tall, and El Grande, effectively. And the third one, if you look into it more, by process of elimination of just like, who they're utilizing, Tyler Bate is the third one. How did we get to this point? Like, at one is an accident, 2 is a trend. And then, the third one, it's like, listen, I get that they're not using these guys on television, but these are respected wrestlers that now we're doing it. And now I'm at a point of like, okay, El Grande Americano, like, where is this going? Is this just for a laugh? Because this is some straight Vince McMahon bullshit. Let's call it what it is. This is straight Vince McMahon nonsense. And we're starting to see some Triple H, venturing into Vince McMahon territory in terms of some of his booking decisions. I understand it's an entertainment show, but when you've got respected people like Tyler Bate and, and you've got Pete Dunne and then, Ludwig Kaiser, who's actually doing a really good job of it. And he's going to perform as El Grande Americano in Mexico at Triple Mania in a couple weeks. Cool. But I don't know why. Like, listen, I was fine with, them doing it at 2. And then when Chad comes back, you could do the Spider-Man thing. Now you got 3 of them. So what is this whole thing? Is this just a Dominic Mysterio creation of his own to, like, help him out? Is that what we're doing? What is this all leading to? To me, I felt like this was just it was not it was weird, man. And hey, let's put Dragon Lee into another match and have him lose again. Why? I don't know. I mean, hey, we got AJ Styles to come out after the fact, and they really played back the whole boot thing. And it's just I don't know where they're going with this. Sami Zayn then ultimately got involved in the whole Rusev, and I mean they had a couple extra segments of Rusev and Sheamus brawling with each other. Rusev sort of clocked Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was wondering what the hell was that. So then then we get to basically the Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella segment. Really, like I said, the digs that Becky Lynch had, and Nikki held her own in this whole segment. And hey, they did a good job, and the crowd was really into this segment. I had no interest really in going into this to begin with. Like I said, I respect both women, but considering what they did at SummerSlam, and now Becky's still the champion for whatever reason, and now Nikki's getting a championship match based out of that, it didn't land for me. I felt like this could have, Lyra could have won. She could have done some stuff with Bayley. And then ultimately Becky could have been sourpussing over the fact that she lost and, just blaming people and just doing anything. And this segment could have landed a little bit better. Some people would have been mad about her taking up TV time, not as the champion. But at the same time, to me, it's just, I get these 2 women are big stars and are 2 legends in the grand scheme of things in the women's evolution. But, it's cool that Nikki's getting another run here in WWE, but to me, it's just on a follow-up to SummerSlam, this wasn't really what it needed to be. It was a hot segment, but the problem with this is, like, what's the follow-up going to be? I don't think Nikki Bella is winning a match against Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. It doesn't really accomplish anything. And the fact that they beat Lyra Valkyria and had her not challenged for this and then didn't show any direction for me, that's my huge issue with this. This is, like I said, this show was just, it just didn't, like I said, there were some good lines. I was really doing this, but this was a very middle of the road to kind of a dud show. Naomi had a good promo with Stephanie Vicaire, mispronouncing her name. It's hilarious. Please don't take the title off of Naomi. As much as I love Stephanie, don't do it. They're going to be in Quebec City next week. So Sami Zayn and Rusev is going to be a match. Naomi and Io Sky for the Women's World Championship is going to be a match. They announced that Gunther's out indefinitely with a nose injury or an eye injury from what happened. I did like this follow-up. I will say this, and this was kind of a part of the angle that, maybe could make this work. But like I said, we know where this is going to. We know that Nikki Bella is not winning. So Natalia defends her friend against Becky Lynch. It leads to one thing. She challenges her to a match, and then Becky accepts, but says, "Hey, Maxine, you're facing me." So hey, it's a big spot for Maxine to face the Women's Intercontinental Champion. She probably won't win, but I kind of was okay with that from a week to week, thing. And then, hey, LA Knight and Seth Rollins went 14 minutes. You had the you had the DQ. Seth was going to go for a stomp off of the barricade onto the concrete, and CM Punk comes in for the DQ. LA Knight wasn't happy with the whole situation. Braun Breaker just absolutely just obliterates CM Punk on the ramp. So anybody wondering the health of Braun Breaker, he's fine. They tease going off the air, and Roman Reigns comes out. But ultimately he gets beaten down, gets a second pair of Jordans taken away by the now tribal thief. and a new Shula Fala for Bronson Reed. I do like that they're owning that gimmick. And the heels just beat down the baby faces, and Roman takes 3 tsunamis and a spear, and we go off the air that way. Um, Big heat angle, and listen, it's a lot of the same shit that we've seen this year when it comes to Heyman and the Oracle Heyman, Seth Rollins, and it's like, okay, now we've got the new phase of this whole thing. They finally have a name, but where is this all going? And it seems like they're slow burning their way into some sort of long term, Seth's group against the babyface crew of CM Punk, Roman Reigns, LA Knight, and some other people, maybe Jey Uso. But Jey Uso, interestingly enough, was nowhere to be found in this segment, even though fans were yeeting for him. So it makes me wonder if, hey, he's going to go join his brother on SmackDown in the other kerfuffle of a long-term, faction warfare type thing with, the MFT bloodline vortex. But this product is significantly cooled off in 2025. This is not what I expect from WWE. And all you people who want to shit on the product because, hey, they brought back Brock Lesnar, guys, this is not a Brock Lesnar issue, okay? They are selling a bunch of tickets. They are doing a great job in that respect. But in terms of content on the screen, it has significantly fallen off from year to year. Last year was great for a lot of content. Cody finished his story. He had a decent title run. Obviously you had Roman and, CM Punk. That stuff feed into, and, obviously the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud was last year. There's none of that this year. None of that is hitting. And, hey, we had a great cash in to close night 1 of SummerSlam. We had Brock Lesnar return. We had a great Cody Rhodes, John Cena match to close night 2 of SummerSlam. Now where are we going? John Cena's retiring in 4 months. This product from week to week has got to get better. They have got to get better because they are sleepwalking through things. And there are some things that, dare I say, are reminding me a little bit of those bad days of Vince McMahon. Because this El Grande Americano thing was fun for a while, but now we have basically spammed El Grande Americanos and we're putting talented performers in those spots. And then you're sacrificing younger talent like a Lyra Valkyria at SummerSlam in an overbooked mess of a match. And now we're going to Nikki Bella, who is working part-time and just got back to wrestling for the Intercontinental Championship that you just established. A lot of this is starting to feel like the old era, just with, a different leadership behind it. Triple H has got to get better. The people booking this shit need to get better because, to me, I have been willing to let it go for a while. But now we are past SummerSlam. SummerSlam was better than WrestleMania. But still, it was a middling show. And to follow it up with what we got on Raw, to me, is unacceptable. It's the same shit, different week. It's got to get better. It's got to improve quickly. Because at some point, people are going to start tuning out. You're not going to have the same goodwill over time. You're lucky that AEW is not generating as much interest anymore. You have got to have a fire in your assholes at some point. Because at a certain point, you're just going to start looking like the way this product looked 4 years ago. And that was some of the worst shit that I've seen on television. Remember Ezekiel? Remember some of the nonsense that was going on there? The only difference now is some younger stars are getting pushed. But even then, some younger stars got cucked out at fucking SummerSlam. I keep going back to Lyra. That whole feud felt like a way to elevate her. And then she just loses the payoff match. And now she can't challenge for it. So Nikki Bella can get an Intercontinental Championship match? Are you kidding me? I love Nikki Bella. I think she is immensely underrated in the ring. But if that promo didn't land in the ring, are we really more excited about seeing this? Because let's be real, Becky's not losing. Becky is not losing to Nikki Bella. It's not happening. And if she did, it's a stupid idea. Because Nikki Bella is not going to be around for a while. And in this women's division, the way that it is, it's just, to me, I don't know what you're doing if you're going to build to something like that. So I'm sorry for all you people who were expecting me to come and praise this shit. It wasn't good. It was not a good night of Monday Night Raw. I expect way better from this place. It has been, middling for a while, and there's been some things that have stood out that I've been willing to let go. But now we're 8 months into the year, and not a lot's changed. And, on top of it, now they've got bad headlines around them with this Brock Lesnar thing, fair or not. If you're one of these positivity grifters who loves this shit, good for you. I'm going to call it like I see it. And basically, you got a decent heat angle out at the end of this show and a lot of stuff here that really, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of PLE shit, isn't going to really matter. It really isn't. I love Naomi. I love Stephanie Vicaire. I love what this women's division has become, but man, seriously, man, SummerSlam was better than WrestleMania, but doesn't feel by much. A lot of the same shit we saw across the 2 nights of WrestleMania happened in SummerSlam. Women's match to open night 1, or no, women's match to open a triple threat to open night 2. We had a John Cena Cody Rhodes match main event the second night of a show. We had a cash in. Cool. Is this going to work? I've ranted for almost 30 minutes here because, like I said, I had been, marinating on this and thinking about how I was going to come on and talk about this because, listen, I just didn't like this show. I didn't like it. There were things on it that I thought were positive, and they did build storylines, but, this is not what you expect coming out of a big-time show. And this is not what you expect out of WWE with the way that they've been able to create moments and create storylines over the last couple of years. This year has not been good. They need to fix it quickly. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.